Hello, it's Kareem.
And Travis.
We were a little bit excited.
And Travis.
And we're also here with our special guest, David Sinovich.
Hi.
He's one of our best friends, and he has some perspective to offer us here today. And the topic that we're going to talk about is sabotage. What is sabotage to you?
Put on the spot. Sabotage is deliberately changing the course of something or someone's path that's not towards your goals and alignments.
Okay. What about you, David? I feel that. Yeah.
No, it's definitely you're not allowing something to run its course.
Okay. To me, I would say sabotage is a fear. It's like your inner fear that is trying to prevent you from distinguishing it as that. So you're like, the fear is afraid of you shedding light on it and overcoming it so that it no longer exists. So your sabotage tries to make you keep the fear as a constant, as a part of your personality and everything that you do. So my sabotage to me is just an embodiment of my fear.
Some of it, I think, is driven by anger or hate. As in, your fear is causing you to do something. Like, you have to be that angry or that hateful or fearful to actually go about and do something. Like, there's some cognitive thoughts to the process that's occurring. I don't think you subconsciously sabotage something. Maybe.
I think you could. I mean, for me, like you've noticed where, I mean, even starting this podcast, there's like an excitement to doing it, right? But I think after like 1 or 2 days of having it published with 2 episodes, I was saying, what's the point of this? Like, what does it matter? And blah, blah, blah. That's my fear. It's the fear of being open and vulnerable sometimes. And your sabotage is trying to tell you, go back to being comfortably pain-ridden, go back to being comfortably fearful.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what sabotage is. It's kind of taking the embodiment of, it's taking an embodiment of its own, really. It's like it used you as a vassal to then grow and grow and grow. And then
A vassal or a vessel?
a vessel.
A vassal.
Vassal. What is a vassal?
Vassal. Vaseline?
Vaseline. Is a vassal a word? Vassal. VASTLE. I know vessel is VESSEL.
Yes, vessel.
Okay, all right. Well,
A vessel is like a boat.
Vassal. I don't think that's a word.
Vassal.
Point is,
It's
I feel like
sabotage.
sabotage is like fear using you as a vessel to survive and to live and manifest to grow its own until you, the host of this parasite, can then be more present and live. And that's what sabotage is. It's just a shadow of you. It's a shadow of fear. I mean, have you ever felt like that, David? Have you ever felt like your sabotage really wasn't you, but instead like this weird force that sometimes tries to like take over you? Or like, what's your perspective on it? No, I understand that. And it's felt.
Well,
I'm
I
sure
think
everyone
there's
will feel that too.
multiple forms of sabotage. You know, there's self-sabotage. You know, there's sabotage that individuals collectively come together and perform. Like
Okay.
group sabotage.
But is sabotage healthy sometimes? That's a really good question, because I always ask that. Like, is my sabotage sometimes stopping me from always living too bashful and just like, maybe the sabotage is helping me like process, or is that like common sense, or is that really like, I don't know. I feel like I'm trying to.
Sabotage in my mind is a very negative word, and very like, I don't know many people say, well, I sabotaged myself today. I had a great day. Like, it never comes to that point.
See, sabotage for me is just like, it's like taking, it's being irrational. It's like sometimes being irrational because you just breathe, be human, be present. But I don't know. I think, like I said, sabotage is a really hard word because I think everyone defines it differently. I just see it as a very fear-based entity using you.
Mm. Mm.
Okay, but our next segment will be shortly on best buds with high points.
See so?
Bye. Hi, we're back.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Mahoy Manoy.
It's me.
I'm the problem.
We're all the problems.
Everyone's the problem.
Anyway, so let's kind of differentiate a little bit more between self-sabotage and regular sabotage. So, Travis, can you please read us both definitions there?
Well, sabotage is deliberately destroying, damaging, or obstructing something. So it's very negative. So from a self-sabotage standpoint, it would be more of what are you doing deliberately towards yourself to damage yourself or to obstruct yourself.
Okay.
So I don't think, from the conversation we had earlier, it's like, I don't think it's a positive meaning. It's always going to be something negative that you're stopping yourself, whether it's good or bad. Well, it is bad.
Well, my last question was that is it healthy in any way, shape, or form? Like, could it ever be healthy to have a little bit of sabotage? That's the hard thing because it's like.
But I don't think it's
is
sabotage at that point. I think that's more of consciously making a decision that this is not the right course for me because you know it's bad.
Okay.
You know it's something like that is how I would look at it. Not if I sabotage myself, like,
Sabotage is kind of like an absolute in the negative connotation. Like it's just a negative.
like absolutely what you're doing is wrong. I don't think is sabotage.
Mm-hmm.
That's just making poor decisions.
So sabotage is just bad. Period. Point blank. And
like the other day is kind of like you were kind of saying, "Oh, this podcast isn't going to work." Blah blah blah, and you were just taking it inward and trying to convince yourself that this is not a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
That I think you were trying to deliberately tell yourself, "No, this is bad."
Right.
Or not bad, or not the path that I want.
So sabotage really in itself is just a bad thing, and that if it's ever going to be, thinking about something and just trying to see if it's healthy or whatever, that's not sabotage. That's just,
I think it's just more of, it's not so much a like a thought as in like you're cognitive over, what you're doing or what you're not doing. Mm-hmm. Like you're trying to throw your path a different direction that it's going intentionally for the negative.
And it's fear. It's all fear-based.
Yeah, fear-based is a mind game.
Because I really believe sabotage is in itself just a word that emphasizes fear on the one's like psyche, like the
so kind of
psyche.
think of what
if you do it
like I think it was like a video game like Call of Duty or something. Like you have like you're able to sabotage the enemy's truck. Like you could you're preventing them from doing something. Like it's very, and that standpoint from like a video game is like, well, the good guys are doing this to the bad guys and they're sabotaging them, and that's a good thing in the grand scheme of things. But you're intentionally stopping something from working.
But it's self-sabotage is what I was trying to ask. It was like that question. Because some people may argue, well, like sabotage is like also not the worst thing because it's maybe stopping you from doing something, this and that. But it's sabotage a different meaning from what that person's trying to say. Like someone maybe, fear. Because I remember one time I posted on a status 2 years ago after my relationship ended. I moved back from Atlanta or whatever. I said, I think fear is the most useless emotion. And people like immediately ran to say, no, it's not. It's a very powerful emotion and it causes a lot of great things. Fear is what helps you learn triumph and accomplishments and goals. And, you feel so great as a human to accomplish things, through fear. And it's very important. It's a necessity emotion. So that's why I'm saying if sabotage is in itself a product of fear, is technically sabotage really all that bad? Is it all as bad to be, or is it just it's an absolute negative connotation? Sabotage is bad. There's no debate on that. Is that a differentiation from like someone saying no, like fear's good? And I'm trying to like articulate this, but
I think you're trying to justify self-sabotage is effective.
Maybe this is sabotage right now. Self-sabotage, like, no, don't rid of me. Don't acknowledge me for what it is. Let me grow inside you.
Yeah, and I think it's just more of like why you have to look back at why.
Like coming
why,
to its defense, I feel like almost like I feel bad for the sabotage. I'm like,
Well, I think that where it comes
I'll
to
defend
is that
you.
you have to figure out why are you doing it? Why do you want to sabotage yourself? Like why? Like even if you're acknowledging that you do that, like there's a reason for it. And that's the part I think, that we need, like individuals have to figure out. Why am I trying to like convince myself I'm lesser or I need something different or I'm not good enough for this? And you're trying to convince yourself on that way. And I think that's more the thing that we and us and everyone just has to work on is why would we want to do that?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes my sabotage is like, don't post that nude. Stop being so out there. Look at your body. I'm like, maybe it's for the greater good. Maybe that was not a good selfie. Maybe I should need to slow my roll down a little bit. But who knows? We're all our own worst critic. And it's just identifying if that self-sabotage is... that's not what we're actually being focused on for whenever it stops you from making a bad decision. Maybe it's just you being a human being and being contemplative and saying, oh, that's not the best course of action. And sabotage is anything that could have been good, knowing you can acknowledge that was good, the outcome would have been good. You purposely didn't allow for it to happen. That, I think, is sabotage. But I think when you are not sure of an outcome, it's really hard to say that's sabotage. You can't move forward because you're not sure of the outcome and you don't do something, or whether you do something. Technically, I don't know if that's sabotage.
Well, I think that's also just, morals and human nature just kicking in. Should I do that or should I not is not sabotage, like what you're saying.
Right, exactly. And I think that's what I'm trying to differentiate so people learn to, like, understand it.
Sabotage is the path forward, your direction, and you're deliberately, like, sending it through a detour. Or, turning around, going the opposite direction and changing basically your fate.
I love that you can put words together and, like, a thought so clear. I feel like my anxiety is, like, always trying to over-explain. Maybe it's just something that can be so clearly said in one sentence. Like,
I think some of that comes from, just in the nature of my job. It's like you develop software and those type of things, and I have to explain the software to an individual that might not necessarily be technologically advanced or understand things. So it's breaking it down into pieces that are explainable. And not.
Are you trying to say that I can't, that this is too complex? Like, you're just trying to break it up for me?
Maybe, but not.
No, I get what you're saying, though. I mean, I get what you're saying. You're really good at basically having a baseline piece of information that someone can use, and that's what it's up to the person to take that information with how they, like, for like an emotional sentence, right? I say something to someone, they can then say, you tell a story, and that's why an artist, for example, a song, right? They never tell you what the song specifically means. They want it to be up to the interpretation of the listener. And I think that's kind of what I have to learn, is that you can say something, but you don't always need to over-explain it in its complete wide spectrum. Like,
sometimes less words are more meaning than a lot of words.
Exactly. And even this is hard for me to say, and you just said it much better. David, I know that you're just kind of like an innocent bystander and are rambling here, but can you offer anything about your experiences with sabotage and anything fear-based that you want to, like, talk about? Maybe you can...
We can talk about that in the next segment.
Yeah, we can talk about the next segment. How about that?
Okay.
Yeah.
Not see you soon. Hear from you soon. Goodbye. And welcome back.
Hello, it's Kareem.
And Travis.
And
David.
hi, David.
Hi.
I think he gets microphone shy.
Yeah, he's microphone frightful right now.
He's sabotaging himself.
You're sabotaging
with his
your
own
presence right
mind.
So this next segment's going to be really about our friend here, David, talking a little bit more about what sabotage means to him, maybe a personal experience he can share with us that may have been sabotage based, and what methods he's used in his lifetime to help keep those sabotage ridden thoughts at bay. So what does sabotage mean to you, David? What does it mean to you?
To me, sabotage means you're stealing the thunder. You're derailing something that could be amazing from actually happening because you are fearful of the outcome and possibly the aftershock, the ripple effect, the butterfly effect, if you will. You make a choice and it's permanent and it has ripples and that feeds into everything.
Oh, okay. I like that. Well, is there any personal experiences you can share about maybe they were sabotage based? Like, do you feel like sabotage had a role to play in any decisions you made? It's a hard question to ask oneself, right? Because it's like, did you ever deliberately hurt yourself for something that was going to be really good? And if so, what is it now? It's hard to say that, right? Because you feel like wherever you're at now, you want to believe is the best you've been, right? You want to believe that where you're at is for a reason and everything led to this moment because it was meant to be that way.
I think 2 areas in my life that I definitely catch myself sabotaging myself is, I guess, romantically. I sabotage myself a lot, keep myself from experiencing something good because of previous experiences, but also I think it carries the same weight over to my professional life. Opportunity walks in the door all the time and people are like, oh, apply to this position. You seem unhappy here,
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's just my face, but
Yeah.
Anyway, where was I?
So there's moments you can understand in like the short term that sabotage had a role to play.
Oh yeah.
But it's hard to say in the grand scheme of life if sabotage really, like, you can't really say, well, I mean, I'm here where I'm at now, so you can't really say sabotage. That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to think about myself. It's like, yeah, I can say I sabotage myself for like my dream school or like an opportunity that I wanted to do when I was like 18 or 19, but it's like where I'm at right now is where I'm at, and that's what matters, and I don't want to believe.
I don't think you've ever sabotaged yourself. I think that you think you do, but I think some of it is just the path that you live on, and you're not deliberately doing something to harm yourself. Like, yes, you might all of a sudden, you know what? College isn't right for me, or college is right for me. I want to do this. I don't want to do this, or whatever the life choices are in the world.
FYI, I did go to college for those who were listening. I just didn't finish. Anyways.
No, that wasn't the part of any of that. It's just more of
He never
like,
finished it.
like one could say, I don't want to do this. It's not sabotage. You just don't want to do something.
Right.
And does it change the path of your life? Maybe.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's sabotage.
I feel like
it's
I
not
sabotage
deliberate.
more in the short term. Like I can acknowledge myself sabotaging in the short term, like after the fact. But when I think of like,
do you have an example of something?
Yeah, like I think this podcast, right? I don't like hearing myself talk. I don't like hearing myself or be seen visually if I'm recording my person.
Yeah, but is that sabotage, or is that more just fear and just in general of failure?
But that's what I'm saying. The fear is actually the unknown, right? It's the fear of the uncertain. I feel like because I can't control something that I fear it. But the thing is, it's like.
But you have full control over it.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like it's sabotage because I understand this is something that's actually beneficial in the sense that I know what it is. But it's like I'm not allowing myself to let it be what it is.
See, but I think I would draw a line there on that's just being fearful, and that's not really sabotage because you're not deliberately.
But sabotage is fear based, so it's like how do you identify that sector of what fear is, which is sabotage?
I don't think sabotage is fear based. Sabotage is actually deliberately changing the path of something, not based on fear. It's cognitive, like and I say cognitive all the time in this episode, but it's like you're intentionally doing something to stop something. Mm-hmm. It's not fear taking over from like the mind is.
Because in that moment, you're just doing something that you think is
if for example, if you see, if I'm riding my bike down the street. Mm-hmm. And you know that you're going to throw this ball intentionally right in front of me, that's sabotage of what's going on. You're intentionally doing something to cause harm or obstructing something or destroying something is different than choosing something.
I see that. I see that 100%. But I still think that sabotage is, again, like an unconscious fear. It's like a seed of fear. Like, sabotage really is like, it's like a little seed of fear that manifests, and you think that it's like the way. You think it's like the way in your mind, that it's like an absolute, almost like you're doing something that you think is right, but in actuality, it's like sabotage is like leading you to believe that's right, but it's not.
Can I interject?
Yeah.
Okay, so I started thinking a little bit more. I think sabotage in a grand scheme of things is you know exactly what you need to do, you know the solution, but you also think of everything that can ruin that.
Correct. Like, you know the path forward on, you know what, I know I should be doing this. I know this is where it should be going, and you know all the definites.
Mm-hmm.
But you are intentionally going the opposite direction or throwing something in front of you to stop that path from going forward.
Where does it derive from? Because of fear.
Yeah, it's fear.
It's fear. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think
procrastination.
Yeah, but it's not, procrastination is not sabotage.
Procrastination, I think, is a product of sabotage, and a sabotage is a product of fear.
It's lazy sabotage.
Yeah, but I don't think it's changing the path for your entire destiny just because you want to be lazy or you want to wait.
I think procrastinating is like knowing that you're going to do it, but because you wait too long, sometimes different outcomes can now happen because you can't control time. So like you always saying, oh, I'll get this, I'll accomplish this soon, I'll do that task soon. Mm-hmm. You keep procrastinating, right? But over time, it's like now narratives change, things are going to start changing. So that outcome may have been relevant in your mind in that moment, but the longer you wait, it starts to deviate from the initial intent. It's no longer going to mean that the same way.
The window of opportunity
changes. Yeah, it changes. It's always changing. So procrastination is a product of sabotage, and sabotage is a product of fear. Ultimately, anything that's negative in our personal lives is a form of fear. Anything that's formed around that, because ultimately, I don't think doing good things...
But do you think you deliberately procrastinate? Or does procrastination just occur just because you were in the mind? I think if you deliberately do it, then I think it is sabotage.
I think people deliberately procrastinate, and then they get used to it, and then it's almost like it just becomes part of them. It just it's a part of the personality.
But then at that point, if it's a part of their day-to-day life and it becomes a part of the person, then I don't think it's sabotage.
But some people don't even know that. That's why sometimes people can call it out, right? Like if I'm looking at you, I'm like, Travis, you're so good at this, but you don't really.
And I guess I keep going back to the definition of sabotage as you're deliberately doing something to harm or destroy or obstruct. And I think procrastination, most people are not deliberately doing it. It's just a part of their human people or nature.
Like I said, they deliberately started to be, the people deliberately procrastinate, and I think again, they're procrastinating the idea of what procrastination means, right? They're not. For me, for example, like I procrastinate even acknowledging what I'm feeling, because I'm like, I know what I'm feeling. I just don't want to develop more into what I'm feeling. I don't want to think more about it, so I'll procrastinate feeling it, and then I know I have to go back to it eventually and process my thoughts. But maybe I won't feel that same way anymore. It's the same thing I feel like in a breakup, or if I got into an argument with someone, or maybe I had a phone call with someone, and I wanted to know if I sounded stupid. My inner personality is like, process it, Kareem, talk about it. Feel what you feel about it and overthink the shit out of what you just said. But I'm so used to doing that I stop, so I procrastinate feeling that way until later. And then eventually I go back to like, did I sound stupid? But it's not relevant. It's 2 days now, 3 days ago, that conversation is over. It lost its relevancy. So sometimes I procrastinate feeling what I should feel and process it.
But how is that sabotaging you?
It all leads back to sabotage.
But how is it sabotaging you?
It's sabotaging me because sometimes I think I sound so much worse than I am, like on the phone. If I had a phone call with someone, I think I'm like, oh my God, did I overthink? Did I overdo this? I don't want to do that again. I don't want to contact that person again. That's an opportunity just presented to me. I probably sounded so dumb. I'm gonna wait for them to contact me, blah blah. It's like all these little things it's all.
But that's how you feel fear. That's how you feel But how is it sabotaging you?
It's sabotaging me because I'm not allowing myself to potentially have opportunities. But again,
So I guess the question is that we can kind of end on is how do we overcome those fears and how do we become stronger to avoid those sabotages?
Yeah. Again, sabotage is always going to be. I think there's a baseline definition.
But you didn't answer the
obviously.
question. How do we overcome the fears of the sabotage?
Well, that's what my answer was going to be. I think we all have our own perception of what it is. So there's a baseline definition of what sabotage is, but it's always going to be up to the person, the individual, to perceive it of what it is and to say, what do we do? How do we solve it? How do we come together? How do we have a conversation about how to help it? I think it's understanding that sabotage is fear-based. And you understand that fears usually have a credible basis of, like, there's a relevance to what you're dealing with. Fear is not always just like this irrational thing. Process it, understand it's a fear. Maybe understand that maybe that fear is helping you see a different perspective to something, and know that it may not always be sabotage, but know that if you feel like there's an innate feeling or gut feeling that something's going to be so good for you, something that's meant your purpose, and you just know it so deeply that it's what you need to be doing, and yet something is telling you, no, don't, that's sabotage. And you have to ask yourself, why am I fearful? Am I afraid to have good things happen to me? Is that me turning away a good opportunity or anything great is because I feel I don't deserve it, or I don't deserve good things to happen to me? That is sabotage, and just know that that's fear and it's not real. Let the good thing happen to you. Let something powerful happen to you. Let a change happen to you that's meant to be for you, because that's your calling, that's your destiny.
And kind of listen to the gut.
Listen to the gut.
Especially if it tells you, good things, or even say, you know what, I should not do that, and just kind of go with the flow. Let, like you mentioned, let the good things happen where the good things are.
I love to connect to people. I love to talk. I have a large family. I love people, and I felt maybe I shouldn't be doing this because my sabotage, my fear was telling me not to do it. But
and
here I am doing it.
Yeah, exactly. This podcast is to connect more people and make people think about things, and that's where we're at.
I just love being a human. And
just think, this is our 4th little episode.
Yeah, and we have another human being right here. Any finishing statements?
Live your truth. Trust yourself. Be a good person.
And don't change yourself either.
Yeah, stay true to who you are.
Don't change yourself for others.
Especially that. Change yourself for yourself.
Yeah, change yourself for
grow,
yourself.
Don't change, just grow.
Yes.
Evolve.
Evolve.
Level
up.
And I hope y'all stay sabotaging. And until next time.
Have a great night.
Bye.
Stay high.